One. It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily. It is the 20th of October, 2025. Flyers Daily, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. We are with the one and only. You read his work we should read it every day, at least, maybe multiple times a day, at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyHotStove.com. It is Bill Meltzer. Bill, how are you? How's the first week of the season treating you? Week plus, I guess, at this point.
Well, going into this year, right, if you said the Flyers would split with Florida, right, grab a point on the road against Carolina, they would hold Winnipeg to 14 shots, cup contending team, and hold the Wild, I guess, 16 shots.
It was 15 then 16, so
yeah,
that's only the fifth time in franchise history that's happened back twice.
So I'd be feeling pretty good, right? But it's been truthfully a mixed bag so far. But to be 2-2-1 through 5 games against tough opposition, I think the bottom line is what you could hope for. Obviously would like to get that extra point in Carolina, but there's certainly things that need to improve, and they're a work in progress. But I think when you look at the big picture of where they are right now, I think you take it. So
yeah, what do you attribute the low shot total against Winnipeg and the 16 low shot total against Minnesota too? Now, part of this obviously is something that I've talked about quite a bit. This is the analytic effect and quality over quantity, and we're going to see more and more of it around the NHL, and this is going to become the norm. I know the team got booed off the ice the other night after the first period, and I think that was because of the 3 shots.
Yeah,
they got 3 shots on goal, but I think that we're going to have to change our thinking a little bit, because it is not about that. But the Flyers shot prevention, I mean, when you're talking about those numbers against those teams, that's the thing that really kind of sticks out to me, and the protection of the middle of the ice.
Taking the middle of the ice, that's exactly where you're going. I mean, that's the number one thing they want to establish. Players are figuring it out. They're buying into it. On the whole, for the team. That will they'll give you a chance to win. It's absolutely helping the goalies.
Yeah.
If you look at the 5 games on the whole, it certainly helped Dan Vladar. In both of his wins this year, even the first, even his first outing too, higher shot total, of course. So I think in terms of the D zone stuff, that's been a positive. It's trending the right way. On the discipline side, took 15 penalties in the first 3 games, which was way too much. And then, and they were preventable penalties too. So
they're stick penalties. They're not moving your feet.
They're stick penalties. And yes, there tend to be more calls this time of year, but they're pretty much deserved penalties. So but they seem to more or less have addressed that in the last few. So that's been a positive. And, there's definitely some guys on the offensive side of the puck, and not to beat around the bush. Matvei Michkov is certainly at the top of that list, and so is Travis Konecny, because he hasn't hit his stride yet either. So they need guys that they're counting on big things from to be their best players, on a lot of nights, and that's not there yet. On the flip side, Owen Tippett has 3 goals in the last 4 games.
He's just flying, Bill. He is flying right now.
He's absolutely up on his skates.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it's kind of a mixed bag. Even something like the power play numbers are terrible so far.
32nd in the league, 6.7%.
Dead last.
We thought it couldn't get worse, Bill.
Yeah. No, but it seems like every game there's one power play where they're not putting in the net, but yet there's one power play game where they look really good. They're moving the puck well. They're generating chances in quality areas, and they're just not scoring. And even the home opener, when they win that game, that was coming out of a power play. So they scored there. So it was almost an extension of one.
Oh, you mean when Bennett blows up Couturier out of the box and then goes behind the net and gets redundant in coverage and loses them?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
asinine play.
that's so very slowly, but there's still too many power plays where they don't even get set up.
Yeah.
Lose that first draw, they don't even get a good entry or set up. So there's still a ton of work to go there. So again, you weigh it on the whole, and 2-2-1 is probably where they should be right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very earned record for them right now. Maybe even a little ahead of earned, because when you look at Carolina, I mean, and look, we discussed that last week, and I didn't understand the reason the NHL decided to not to allow that goal in the Minnesota game when the Flyers challenged it for offsides.
Yeah.
Did you see their explanation?
I saw basically, yeah.
They said that Jamie Drysdale knocked the puck into his own defensive
zone.
zone.
His own defensive zone, so there were guys there. So even though they were offside, it said it negates the offside because the defense
He pulled it in his zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's poke checking it forward and it flips.
I did not get that. I mean, when teams challenge for offside,
they're right.
It's very, very rare, right? That nowadays you almost expect to get called back because they're pretty sure.
Yeah,
and that one, it really surprised me when that one stood.
The only thing I thought it was originally, the challenge was not accepted because they said that maybe he had possession before the puck got deflected and he was in the zone.
Yeah,
but that's not the explanation that the league gave. They basically said Drysdale pulled it to his zone, and that is certainly not the case. Let's go to Michkov even further because. We've heard Rick Tocchet say he's not in great hockey shape.
Yeah.
He's limited his usage in third periods considerably. I think he played his last shift in the Minnesota game with 13 minutes to go in the game. We haven't seen him in a 3-on-3 situation. I never thought he was massively suited for 3-on-3 to begin with because of the skating aspect of it. That's not his strongest point. And that doesn't mean he's not going to be a great player. But that being said, you can clearly see that something's off in his game.
Yeah.
Now, I think they've cited that there was an ankle issue that maybe caused some training this summer. You can see that he's not where he needs to be. And I think you can see a little bit of body language and the frustration as well. What's your assessment of what you've seen out of him so far?
I see a player that's pressing a lot.
Yeah.
And, his whole self-identity is built off his offensive game.
Yeah.
He understands that he has to contribute in other ways, but that's really where his confidence comes from. I mean, he's a very self-confident player, so that's
you can see him flying the zone a little bit now to try and get himself right.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, there was one shot in particular where that was egregiously out of position. That certainly contributed to the decision that was made. It's very hard based on merit to say, well, he doesn't deserve to be sitting when you're shortening the bench, that he should be one of the guys that are going. Now,
when you're struggling to score.
Yeah. And, we're 5 games into the season. So sometimes if you have a stretch of 5 games that aren't your best, and that happens middle of January or whatever, it kind of gets overshadowed.
Doesn't mean as much, yeah.
But when it's the beginning of the year, it stands out more. I still fully believe that he will be fine, and like it to happen sooner than later. He's put in the time in practice, put in video sessions, all those things. So it's not a work ethic thing, but I mean, just little things. He's not just some of those details. And I don't even necessarily mean defensive details.
No, I use this word with Vladar a lot. He doesn't look refined.
Yeah.
His game looks very kind of raw right now. And you can to a degree, Tippett, when he's confident, he's very creative.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of the time, you look at a guy like Matvei Michkov, and offensively with the puck, he's insanely confident and creative, and you just have no idea what he's going to do. I don't think he even knows. He runs on instinct because he's just one of those players that can do that. And you just don't see that in this game. And I think, and I agree, I think the beginning of the year, a guy that's always produced at every level, it is the feeling of not producing is exacerbated a big way at the beginning of a season, especially when it becomes a storyline too. And it has. And I know his English isn't great, but he understands. He's no fool. He understands there's a lot of pressure on him to score, and he sees his team struggling to score too.
No, for sure. And you know, he's not ducking it, right? And he's put in extra time in practice, again, video sessions. I mean, so it's not that he's not putting in the work, but unfortunately, a lot of the times that work has to happen before you ever arrive in camp. And he's playing catch up, which is the exact situation that you know, they had to avoid, right?
Yeah.
And I do wish you know, the situation with his ankle before the season, I wish that had been made public a little bit sooner, so that it wouldn't have sounded, you know, it wouldn't have sounded like excuse making after the fact.
Yeah,
because it
tends to lack credibility now to some people when they hear that. I understand.
Yeah. So, you know, even though it's true,
you
know, even though it is true, but you know, but when you wait and you say when the guy's struggling, then it doesn't come off sounding great.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was hopeful after the Winnipeg game when he at least got off the schneid for the year, that might be the turning point. He just relax a little bit and plays, you know, and now after another game where he doesn't play in the second half of the third period, doesn't see the ice in overtime, and again on merit, you know, you're not going to give a guy ice time just because of where he's drafted, just because of what his rookie year was. You got to keep on proving yourself, no matter who you are. And I said, just as Travis Konecny needs to pick up his game, so does Michkov.
Yeah. You just almost say there's a double standard because Konecny is a guy they're relying on to do that too, yet his ice time has not waned.
Yeah.
And, you know, and a lot of fans look at it and they say, well, it doesn't matter anyway. The team's not trying to win yet. They've told us that, and this is a development year. Just throw them out there, which I understand the thinking. I do. But I think throwing somebody out there that is not doing well doesn't do them any well. I think that's the worst thing to do. It kind of look at, like, I read this article Charlie O'Connor wrote last week about Dan Vladar and his usage at the end of last season. If you look at like the last 8 games, it was a murderer's row. They were shielding Dustin Wolf, a young goaltender, from tough matchups and tough situations and giving it to a veteran. Because you have to be cognizant of that mental aspect of it, and putting players in a position to succeed is one of the top jobs of any coach.
No, exactly, and it's and also knowing at a certain point when someone needs a reset and is struggling too, over and above putting, you know, if you're just letting a guy fail, right, and you know, I can use a baseball example, but a guy you know he can hit, but it's April and you're some games in and he's batting about $150. You know, are you really doing him a favor by keep running him out there in the same position in the lineup,
feeding him to the wolves over and over again? That was Pat Burrell on a number of occasions.
Totally was. Totally like Broden or Bryson Stott at times this year too.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's something to be said for letting somebody play their way through it, but there's also a certain time where you take a step back, you work on the things you need to, whether it's in the video room, whether it's in practice, and then you go on the ice, you taste some success, and you just move on from there. And that's honestly what I think needs to happen with Michkov right now, and I'm hopeful that you know, it's not something we have to keep discussing going forward into November and onward or whatever.
People get a little crazy with the narratives when it comes to him.
No, for sure. I mean, look, the Flyers just played a really good game, beat a very good Minnesota team, And we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but we spent a lot more time talking about Michkov. So it's and understandably so. And I get why, for the big picture in the future, that that's going to be your franchise guy. You're here, at least one of your main core guys.
Yeah.
So
he's a foundational player. There's no question.
So I get that the one win or loss against Minnesota in October is not as important as the big picture. But on the other hand, there's a whole team there, and the whole team is just coming off a pretty solid win. So.
Yeah. Were you surprised that there was changes in the lineup, 3 of them to be exact?
Yeah.
But the one that I'll really ask you about is were you surprised that Gulbenkian was out? He had to play along the boards where the puck's kind of rolling on Sanheim's stick, and the only area where I think he could have done a better job is use more of his body to pin that puck against the boards, because he didn't have pressure bearing on him.
Yeah.
But it hops over a stick and Scheifele ends up scoring. But are you surprised that he came out and made way for Nick Delarier? Abels comes in too, and so did Zamula.
Yeah. I mean, Abels felt like a foregone conclusion. Luchenko, I thought, was absolutely coming out.
Yeah. He doesn't have a shot yet, Bill Luchenko. Yeah. Did you hear my solution to this? My solution to Luchenko not being willing to shoot the puck is the next time he's in the lineup and they go into a game and it goes into a shootout, make him the first shooter in your shootout.
Yeah. Right.
Don't give him a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. He can't pass it there.
Yeah. I tap him on the shoulder and go, "You're going, buddy. Go."
Yeah. Well, it's going to be decision time very soon as to whether he goes back to Guelph or stays with the big team, and just based upon how he looked overall at camp and so far this season, it's getting to where the odds seem to increase of him going back to the Ontario League.
I think they want to keep him around kind of as long as possible. In case
longer, right? Yeah. But he's not necessarily playing every day, because these are actually games played, not days on the team.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he'll get some practices in.
That could stretch to December.
It could when Braden Shen, because when he first came up with LA,
best player not in the NHL.
Yeah. we've heard that label before. But the thing with Braden was that he was with them for a while. He didn't dress in every game or even most games till he got to that stage. That's kind of where they are a little bit with Luchenko. But I don't know. I don't know how many more games or how often he's going to dress till they're trying to see if maybe we can work him in a little bit more. Where is he at? So anyway, I was expecting Abels to get back in the lineup. Gulbenkian, I was not necessarily expecting. I know, Foligno and whatever you want to say the Minnesota lineup. Maybe it's a spot to use. To use Delarier there. Yeah. But I was 50-50 on that, but kind of leaning towards he would get another game, because his games leading up to that had mostly been pretty good.
Yeah.
So I was, and then was Zamula too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
If Cam York's still out, Zamula's not going back in. Andre's getting recalled.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Juleson's actually been a little better than I thought.
Yeah.
He's been solid.
He had a solid game, and Sealer quietly had a really good game.
He did. He had a great closeout in the first period. I thought he was just typical Nick Sealer, 5 block shots, all meaningful ones. He doesn't block waste ones.
Yeah.
He's been good. Sanheim, but Sanheim just can't keep playing 29 minutes and 58 seconds. I mean, they've got to resolve this in some way, shape, or form at some point. When you look at some of the other new faces, and you look at a guy like Trevor Zegras, I've seen him make some plays in the defensive zone where I was like, okay, like definitely buying in and going in the right places. And I think sometimes people get confused because he doesn't take every draw.
I think
still playing center.
Yeah, I was gonna say that they're switching off, so don't get caught up as to which one's listed as the center and which one's listed as the left wing, because it's a hybrid of the two of them. And if you're actually watching the shifts, like you might see Dvorak starting in the middle, but then he's playing the puck on the wall, and Zegras is moving over.
Yeah.
So so really, left wing and center, they're very fluid. So that's because I have seen people, they already gave up on him at center. It's like, no, they haven't.
No.
They haven't. He's still playing in the middle a lot. So again, don't get too caught up as to who's listed where. And they want to get to a point ultimately, where Zegras is the guy in the middle. But also reasons why he moved to the wing originally, and faceoffs just being one part of it. But
yeah,
but I do think that he's taking very seriously what adjustments he needs to make, and I think based on his game so far, there's reason to feel confident that he can ultimately get to that point. But I honestly think that it's an interim step. The switching off, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's kind of a tweener stage. It's interesting in watching Rick Tocchet over this, this first stretch. Clearly in the Winnipeg game, when the Scheifele line was out with Connor, and we know how good that line is, and how piping hot Scheifele is unbelievable. That he line matched the Cates line against that line. The issue for him is he can't use Couturier in that role right now, because one of Couturier's line mates is Michkov. And Konecny, and it's overall, it's not it's not going to be a shutdown type line, and that Cates line plays such a territorial game too. Really hard to score from 170 feet from the opposition net, and that's kind of the thinking. Like, you had that shift in the Minnesota game. I think it was at the end of the first period where the entire shift, it was a minute 12, I think. Yeah. It was in the Minnesota zone, and Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek, and they're defending the entire time.
Right.
That's the best way to keep a guy like Kaprizov off the board, is don't let them have the puck and be in their zone.
I was going to say make him defend.
Yeah,
right? That's number one way, and ultimately, big picture, you want to get to a point where you can go strength on strength, your top line against their top line, and feeling a sense. Feel confidence that even though the other side will get what they, whatever they create, because they'll have opportunities to do so. In the end, you're confident you can match or beat them.
Well, what I saw in the Minnesota game is what shocked me, Bill, because in the third period he made a shift.
Yeah,
his team's down 1-0. They haven't generated enough offense in the game, so he's doing the line matching. The Kaprizov line was actually out there against the Flyers' fourth line on a number of occasions, and that was because Obels went 5-0 on draws.
Yeah,
and that's why, because he needed to also use the Cates line to generate offense. Ultimately, it did, basically, in the 3-on-3.
Yeah, and that's
too.
They're really. That line is. They've been obviously the Flyers' best line on a night in, night out basis, but to also get some offense from that trio, it is really important. So I don't
know who I'm more impressed by on the line, by the way.
No, I know it's all three of them, right? I mean, Cates has been fantastic. Brink has been playing great, and Foerster didn't miss a beat after
had that goal.
Camp. So yeah,
cutting
over the middle.
That was an absurd goal. Yeah. And then you look at also, the Brink one off the wall, where Gurbankin gets the assist, but not the plus because he had just changed.
Yeah.
And then obviously Cates gets the overtime winner. I don't know who I'm more impressed with on the line, because it seems like they all improved and are off to a good start. I want to look at, Bill, the game-winning goal against Minnesota, because there's a couple subtleties in this goal that I think are really important. You and I, and when we talk to coaches and we get them on the shows and we do articles on them, they always talk about the details and how much the little details mean. And I think this overtime winner is a great detail, because first of all, there's feel. So, and we know 3-on-3 is a lot about possession and controlling it. Vidar makes a glove save here, but he keeps it in play, knowing that line for Minnesota has been out there a while. He dumps it off to Jamie Drysdale, who could skate himself out of jail, which he does. Then he gets the puck to Foerster, drives the middle, drops off the Cates. But look what Foerster does.
Yeah.
Absolutely bull rushes his defender to bring him closer to the net, and that lets Cates come in further and use those two bodies as a screen to hide the release.
Yeah, and heads up by Cates too. I mean, he reads like he has a little bit of room there to move to a little better shooting position.
Yeah,
and and also you're keeping the other defender here honest because you have a target on the other side. You overplay it.
You nailed it. It's exactly where I was going to go. Jamie Drysdale's loaded up for a one-timer, and not only does that defenseman can't now close on Cates, the goalie's got to consider Drysdale too.
Yeah.
And boom, he ends up beating him. Just low blocker, great shot, great finish. And you see here at the end, everybody going to Vladar and really focusing on him because they all recognize how important it was that he kept the puck in play.
Yeah.
Knowing when to cover and when not to cover.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it was, it was daring. It was adventurous. Even
it was a little scary. I agree.
But but I mean, that goal doesn't get scored if he doesn't do it. So you don't know
when Minnesota wins the faceoff, right? And then they get possession, and maybe you don't even get possession again in the overtime. You don't know. But he knew that if he kept that in play, it's a really heady play. And I've seen him on a few occasions know when his team was hemmed in to also get a stoppage of play and stop it. Like goalies will be aware when the TV timeout is. Like we got to stop here because like maybe we can stop the momentum. Everybody can just kind of catch their breath and get our legs back under us. Obviously, he's been a storyline, Dan Vladar, off to a really good start. The style of goaltending between him and Sam, and they'll both be on with us on tomorrow to announce an initiative that we're doing around cancer research called October Saves. Their styles are wildly different.
Yes.
Sam's a guy that'll take some ice, be aggressive, go out, challenge, plays the game in a much different way. Vladar, much more deep in his net, using his size to his advantage to not have to move quite as far as well. But Vladar has looked really sharp and refined at the beginning of this season. And boy, he's been a factor for them in getting these wins.
Yeah. He's, he's really built on what he did in the latter part of last year, being healthy again.
Yeah.
And that he's picked up right where he left off at the end of last year. And you were talking too about which games he was given by Huska and the Flames, but just in general, just being healthy again and playing well. I mean, because he actually, and it's not just numbers, right? But if you go by the numbers from after the Four Nations at the end of the year, just from a numbers standpoint, and 7's not too small of a sample size. Not to compare Wolf or Vladar, because Wolf won the Calder and had a fantastic rookie year, and I mean the Flames have had their troubles so far this year, but just in terms of assessing where Vladar is, he's justifying the decision so far to sign to the 2-year deal. And it looks like he picked up where he left off in the last part of last year. So that's definitely one of the huge positives so far this year.
Bill, the last 11 games he started last year were all on the road.
Yeah, wow.
He went 6-4-1.
Yeah,
with a 9.16 save.
And they all win. They all must win games at that point too.
Against, and listen to these opponents: St. Louis, who's battling for the playoffs; Winnipeg, Seattle, Washington, who had 111 points, best team in the East; Florida, Dallas, Toronto, the Rangers, the Islanders, Colorado, and the Kings.
Yeah.
And those are the last 11. His last home game was the 2nd of January. I'm not even kidding. Against Utah.
Yeah,
and that's how much they shielded Dustin Wolf.
Yeah. I mean, there were quite a few back-to-backs in there. So
there was.
Yeah. So
I think 4.
Yeah. So I mean,
they fed his rear end of the Wolves, man.
No, they sure did. I mean, so when you look in the hole, I mean, He handled it, kept them in a lot of games too. Even at times where the numbers weren't great.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's making the saves that he has to make.
Well, do we have a goalie controversy though, Bill, or is there no controversy? He's kind of the guy right now, and that can change on a dime.
I was going to say. I mean, right now, very small sample size still, but yeah, I mean, right now, if you're going by the Winnipeg game, because that's been the one where I wouldn't say goaltending was an issue necessarily, but that was the one game where it was a critical goal against that needed to be stopped.
And that's the Scheifele goal.
That's the Scheifele goal.
After the Gurbankin turnover.
Yeah, low glove.
Yep.
Clear situation where you can't get scored on, and that's in that category of, is it a soft goal, an easy chance that Scheifele's the shooter? No, it's not. It's not soft and it's not easy, but you need a save there. That's when if a guy is your tandem goalie or your potential starting goalie, those are saves you need there. And
you look down at the other end and see that guy down there, Connor Hellebuck.
And Hellebuck made a few dynamite saves. I mean,
both goals he got beat on that were clear-sighted too. I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean, but in such a low event kind of game, it's kind of a really low event. You go in that third period, and there were no shots for either team in the first 10 minutes of that period. I mean, that's hard on a goalie.
And that team knows how to lock a team down. Last year, that team went 41-0-3 when going into the third period, leading a game.
Yeah.
41-0-3. That's a closer, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mariano Rivera stuff there.
Yeah, you'd figure one game you have a 1-goal lead, and
Yeah.
So
wow. Just crazy numbers, and obviously save percentage is going to suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, I had people tweeting me that after Sam let up the third goal in that game, which was the one that went off the shaft of Yinning's stick and then the butt of Gates, and then at the time, as I called him, Murray Barron scored the goal. It wasn't Manson Barron, but they were blaming that one on him. I'm like, okay, what's the Duke gonna do? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. That's a pinball goal. What are you gonna? Yeah.
There's who do you expect to see tonight when they take on Seattle, a team they cannot take lightly?
Well, I think you've reached, rather than flip-flopping, alternating the two of them.
Yeah,
I think Vladars earned another start. So
I do too, and because he also played in the Western Conference and played against that team quite a bit. I think I put that into my calculus on it, and I think they end up going Vladar tonight. It's not quite as busy a week of hockey as we will see this season, certainly at times, with just the 3 games. They'll have Seattle tonight with the Monday night game, and then on Thursday they'll be on the road for 1, just up and back to Ottawa, and then on Saturday, their first matinee of the season, the New York Islanders are going to come to town. And the weird thing is you kind of look at this schedule, and we can look at Florida and Carolina, and they're very good teams. Minnesota's been a little up and down so far, but I think they're going to end up being a good team. Yeah. But when I look at the Islanders and Ottawa and Seattle, I'm not sure what they're going to be just yet. Yeah. I'm really Seattle's off to a nice start.
They are.
Yeah.
Happened. I saw their game against Calgary where they were trailing early.
Yeah,
and they ended up coming back and winning. Not on a fluke either. They kind of took over the game. That is a team that if you don't come prepared to work, can make you look foolish. And I mean they always kind of fly under the radar. But that's a team to me that's on the way up. And Bill Armstrong has quietly done a pretty nice job there, actually building a nucleus there. And Peterka, I mean, that was a steal this summer. So.
Oh, the JJ Peterka trade? Yeah, absolutely. Unreal. Their last thing, Bill, there's been some whispers regarding Buffalo. And the name Rasmus Dahlin has been thrown around a little bit. And when I hear Rasmus Dahlin, I go, ooh. I perk up right away.
Yeah.
First of all, this time of year, I mean, we are really early for rumors. Is there validity to this, or is this just, Buffalo needing more change? Although they did shut out Florida the other day.
Yeah. Well, you have a general manager that's very much under the gun.
Yep,
right?
Kevin Armstrong.
Yeah, Kevin Adams.
Or Kevin Adams.
Yeah.
Yep. And an owner doesn't have much patience left.
No. I mean, Pagula's kind of public enemy number one among Sabres fans. He's blamed for a lot of their woes.
Yeah.
Right. Lindy Ruff, second oldest coach in the NHL, and second go round.
He sounds so defeated already.
And the whole body language. I'm just going to say that it feels just like it's a desperation mode.
Yeah.
So that's where sometimes a team might make a trade out of desperation. Now, Dahlin to me should be the one guy there. Maybe Tage Thompson as well, but who's not available pretty much. Yeah. But if they're willing to make Dahlin potentially available, you have to go for it. My goodness, that's a true number one defenseman. So that's you certainly kick the tires. I mean, there's a couple of other guys on Buffalo too. Owen Power's name always has been out there, and even though he was the first pick of the draft, he's not going to be that true first pick of the draft kind of type. Maybe he'll have a career like a healthier Eric Johnson. Right?
I was just going to say that EJ was a number one overall pick to St. Louis. Yeah.
And, played over 1,000 games in the league on merit and whatever, a good player for years. And that's a player that I would also have interest in too, but you're talking about Dahlin being a whole other level. So that, what's the likelihood of it? I would still say not likely, but even the fact that there's anything that's out there, and just given what the situation is in Buffalo, how much I mean, there'll be massive turnover.
Yeah.
If they don't click this year, so keep kicking the tires and maybe get to a point where maybe they pulled the trigger on something. Whether that would be Dahlin or not, I don't know. But
it's a daily check-in for any savvy GM.
Exactly. Yeah. Cycle back to them and ask.
Yeah, you're always checking because you never know when something might change, and you want to be in that mix if he is available. And the Flyers are one of the few teams, Bill, that will have the types of things that they want. They certainly have picks, prospects, and they got maybe some players that they'd be interested in as well. To solve that problem with a player of that level it's almost the dream scenario, but it does happen. That's the thing. It does happen. I said that was the last thing, but are you surprised to see we're watching a player play to this game that's not a center or defenseman that's going to be paid $17 million next year?
That is just
a winger.
That's just wild. Yeah. I mean, that's when you're paid at that level, it's almost like
careful what you ask for.
I was going to say, because the expectations levels are so high that if you don't dominate on a nightly basis, then are you earning your money, right? So
you got to be Michael Jordan to get at that, getting that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's so that's and also how even with the cap rising, that's an awful lot of your cap percentage to devote to one player who's a winger. So that.
Well, then McDavid signs for $12 million too. I mean, that's the thing that's really, that's the bizarre element of this.
Well, I mean, of course, McDavid, by signing for the term he signed for, that only sets in motion that whether it's Toronto or elsewhere, that certainly said that he's not playing his whole career in Edmonton. That's what that told me.
Oh yeah, because if he signs the 8-year deal while it's still available.
Yeah.
For the huge ticket, and he's never leaving. And I think it's weird because of that term too. I don't know if his game begins any kind of decline at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, his game declining, it's still going to be better than just about everybody else in the world, no matter what anyway. And Sidney Crosby hasn't really declined a whole heck of a lot either. I think he's still a top 5 player in the game. Yeah. So we'll see how that all plays out. Great stuff. Rebuild's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and of course, HockeyHotStove.com. And Bill will return next week. Tomorrow, the goaltenders and October saves, Sam Ersson and Dan Vladar will be our joint guest right here on a brand new episode of Flyers Daily.